Thank you all for joining us for the Spruce Spectacular. I'm Ari Alexis, and joining me is the fantastic Tucker Piper.
It's spectacular to be here, Ari. The last few weeks, we at the Spruce Spectacular team have been hard at work putting on this show together. It's been a project me and you have been working on for over a year now, and we're so proud to share it with you today. It's had many changes and many hours of work, but today we are finally very glad to share it with you.
But before we show you everything we have in store, we want to make a focus on what this is all about.
Yes, our telethon today is about celebrating the diversity and perspectives of individuals with autism, as well as fundraising for the Autism Society of Northern Virginia, which we'll tell you more about later.
A quick Google search will tell you that autism, or autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a neurodevelopmental condition that manifests in a wide range of characteristics, including challenges in social interaction, communication, and repetitive behaviors. It will tell you that autism is a spectrum, that individuals with autism may have the same condition, but no two experiences are exactly alike.
It's on that point that we're here today. We want to stress the importance of humanizing those with autism. At the core of this mission is the recognition that every person, regardless of their neurodiversity, is a unique individual with their own dreams, talents, and challenges. Humanizing individuals with autism means looking beyond the label and seeing the person for who they truly are.
It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, irrespective of their neurodevelopmental profile. Each person on the autism spectrum has a story to tell, talents to share, and contributions to make to our world.
We strive to create a culture of understanding and empathy, encouraging us to appreciate the strengths and talents that individuals with autism bring to the table.
Throughout this telethon, you'll hear stories from individuals who have embraced their neurodiversity, and we invite you to join us in celebrating their journeys. Let's strive to create a world where we not only raise awareness about autism, but also work towards a more compassionate, inclusive, and understanding society. So, as we embark on this journey together, let's remember the power of humanizing those with autism. It's not just about awareness, it's about creating connections, fostering understanding, and building a world where everyone, regardless of their neurodiversity, can thrive.
And today we are proud to be partnered with the Autism Society of Northern Virginia, an organization that works for just that.
The Autism Society of Northern Virginia offers a wide variety of services and programs that enrich the lives of autistic people all over the Nova area.
From recreational opportunities, including a seasonal tennis program and sensory-friendly events. Tennis sounds nice.
To support programs for parents of children with autism, helping them make informed decisions for their child's future.
They also do community outreach, educating schools and their first responders about autism.
It's organizations like the Autism Society of Northern Virginia that make the world a better place for autistic people. And we're happy to be working with them today. If you scroll down on this stream and click the donation window, you can donate today and support their cause.
You can also find out more about the organization by clicking the link below and signing off to their newsletter. Now, back to today's show, where we will be broken up into 5 different segments. The first of which is an interview with Dr. Stephen Quinn, a psychologist. Second is a word with Tommy Izureta, on his personal experience with autism. Third is a conversation and questionnaire with me, Tucker Piper, and Jack Greco about my experience with autism and common misconceptions attached with it. And the fourth is an art showcase and an interview with art teacher Will Thompson.
We're proud to say that all the material you'll see tonight has been created and organized by talented students with autism who are passionate about making a difference.
And now, to introduce our first segment. To start off, we have Dr. Stephen Quinn here to answer some common questions about autism and to give his insight on the topic. To preface, this is a pre-recorded interview, so any questions you have for Dr. Quinn, fortunately he will not be able to answer, and we will not see them during the interview segment.
Can you tell us a bit about your profession and about yourself?
I'm a licensed psychologist in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm also a licensed clinical psychologist in the District of Columbia. I'm also a school psychologist here in Virginia, licensed independent school psychologist as well. I started working in mental health. It's interesting. I recently just had a supervisor reach out to me. Lisa Friedman is the old supervisor I worked with in 1998.
Wow.
I used to work with, that's when I first started working in mental health in Fairfax County, and I was a home-based agent, mental health provider. And I provided healthcare, mental health services to families in Fairfax County via my vehicle at schools and at their homes. It was a multi-systemic approach. Unfortunately, we're not able to. Mental health is not provided, as widely as it had been back then. So back then, we could reach out to families and do things like that. That's where I first started. But now I work primarily with families and children here in Falls Church City. We also do a lot of testing, neuropsychological testing in the District of Columbia public schools and charter schools as well. And we also do that here in the office in Falls City as well. For mental health services for everyone, not just, unfortunately, it's hard to get good mental health services. So it's great that you guys are doing this. I appreciate it. I really do. And getting this out to the public, because I think that, we all talk about it, and, I think but does it ever get put into action? I think that's what you guys are doing here today, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. So, what are the criteria you use for diagnosing someone with autism?
Just how you communicate, social, like your ability to read nonverbal cues, people's cues and things like that. Just how they, nonverbal ability to kind of read facial expressions, body language, things like that.
So some of the key characteristics aside from just like nonverbal or body language, what are some of the key characteristics you'll find?
I think some of the main characteristics are, a lot of times just struggling to connect with others, sometimes struggling to make early connections with others, sometimes eye contact early on. Sometimes there's a delay verbally. A lot of times we see a delay in verbal acquisition as a child early on. So then we start to really look at that. When we're starting to look at like pragmatic speech acquisition, phoneme awareness, things like that. If there's a language delay, then we start to look at other things. That's very early on, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And so, since autism is a spectrum, how can it present itself differently in individuals, and how do you navigate the diversity in the spectrum?
I mean, that's what makes it, wide spectrum, because there was, my first exposure was in 1998 or 99 with someone that was diagnosed with Asperger's. I had never heard of that. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. But that person was highly intelligent. I mean, just like off the charts, processing stuff at like a speed that you've never seen before. But if he wasn't interested in it, he's not going to look at it. So he would hyperfixate on things, which is another, diagnostic criteria we look at. There's a lot of things with stimulation. There's a lot of hyperfixation on things and hyper focus. Some of the people I knew like fixated on certain things, like that was during Columbine, and he was fixated on different types of things like that he shouldn't be fixated on at that time, and it was making everyone alarm bells going off. But at the same time, he's also fixated on other things like what kind of vehicles were made in all around the world. These cars, this car, that car. But I could tell you every type of vehicle made in every part of the world. But those are fixation. But those are other things. That's what differentiates. You have the lower, some people that would have a language delay early on, and then you have some people that just their acquisition of language is off the charts. So you have a variation, like you said. It's just this huge, wide variation. Because you have some people that are nonverbal.
Yeah.
So.
How important is the family involvement in the support of individuals with autism, and what resources or support do you recommend for families with members that have autism?
It's very important. I think it's important because I think it's one of the things that parenting in general is just a roller coaster ride. And if you look at parents of kids with special needs, whether it be anything, Down syndrome, mental health, depression, clinical depression, autism, or any other physical ailment, it puts a stress on the family. So they need their supports, and they need to, again, like have that family support. You're great. Again, this is wonderful. You guys are talking about this. Because again, that's a multi-system approach to looking at like every aspect, because that child has to be raised by those parents. Mm-hmm. And it's very important. Very important that they understand their expectations as well. The parents do, and what they can expect from their child at a certain point in time, because there are going to be times in that autistic child's life or person's life that you'll have to look at that, because they might be further developed in one area, but might need some assistance in this other area. And that's why it's the beauty of having assistance and federal guidelines that make sure that we give that to our kids in the school systems.
I'm glad you brought up a multi-system approach. We're in a school where a lot of individuals have autism. What's something that we as a community could do to better support those people and to make a more inclusive community?
I think you guys probably have, again, I think groups and outings. I think not just like groups inside the classroom. I think you guys, all of you, need to go do like something like outside. Like go outside and be under a tree canopy, go for a hike, go do something together that you do together. Like not just like go do like do an outing or something, that you can do. Like up in West Virginia, some type of like something that is a building exercise. It can include everyone. It doesn't have to just include autistic. Because I think that's part of that is like having a big part of working with autism and autistic people is we want them to be with us, because and that's what they need. A lot of times I suggest that. I suggest exactly the exact opposite of a lot of times what my guys and girls like sometimes say to me, like they don't want to do. But I think that something that's inside, one of the things I really value is outside engagement, just being outside in nature, disconnected from any type of video screens and things like that. Something that's going to bring you back to, where you were originally.
Yeah, and on that, what do you think the biggest misconception is about autism?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I think that a lot of people have a perception of autistics as, you know, not like people that can function normally, I guess I should say that. Like, because I feel like I have people sometimes that find out they're, married to someone that's autistic and they didn't, they're just realizing that, or, things like that. And I think some of those people sometimes, and I'm just speaking out off the top of my head, like sometimes they're amazed that, wow, like that person, well, yeah, they are. They're like an attorney, or they're a partner, or they're a partner in this architecture firm or whatever firm. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because they're very driven and they were very like focused. Like I told you before, there have individuals that are highly. I mean, look around. Like we can look on just out in the media, like what we see, who we see. These are very driven people, very driven individuals, and I think sometimes people think that they're not capable. And when you tap into that mind, it's amazing. I mean, we can channel it, and I think you see that sometimes with some of what we're seeing out currently. So hopefully hopefully I'm answering your questions.
No, you are. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And I think we have time for one more, because you said 12:25. So how about the transition into adulthood? What support is available for individuals? That was Dr. Stephen Quinn answering some common questions about autism.
We at the Spruce Spectacular want to thank Dr. Quinn for coming on the program and speaking to us. It's people like him who make a difference in the lives of people with autism through their work and commitment to making the world a more accepting place.
Next up, we have Tommy Israeta, a student who's here to share his experience with autism, getting tested for autism, and how that has impacted his life.
Take it away, Tommy.
Hello, my name is Tommy. I am a 17-year-old high school senior, and I'm here today to give my thoughts and my feelings towards autism and how it affects myself and how it may affect others. To begin, I'm going to reflect on my life, how I operate neurologically. One thing I noticed that the side effects that kind of come with autism haven't really ever negatively affected me at all. And I think that I guess the way I think a big part of the stigma is when people think that autistic people have to be like kind of pampered. They're viewed as like way lesser. They're viewed as they need independence, and in reality I think that's not kind of the truth at all. I think that autism is completely different, and I think that causing autism a kind of like disorder is a strong word. I don't believe it's a serious thing at all, and I think it's just a mental version of being left-handed. And I think that when people think that they have to be like pampered or babied, that's what's the contributor to the stigma. And I think that I operate no different than other people, and also I think that autism is kind of found accidentally a lot of the times, and I think that the times where someone with autism can be slightly dysfunctional is that it kind of is a part of something else. And I think that you have a lot of people who will go to therapy for a different reason and kind of looking for something else like ADHD or depression or something like that, and I think that's what it is. Thank you.
Now, it's stories like Tommy's that made me want to start this telethon in the first place. The road to an understanding future is one that is paved with the experiences of others. And next up, we have a very special segment by our show's co-host, Tucker Piper, and our guest, Jack Greco. Let's listen into their conversation.
Hey, Tucker. Hey, Jack.
So, how does autism affect you?
For me personally, I feel like I relate with Tommy a lot in what he said, where autism itself, sure there are a couple of challenges I face because of the disorder, but overall, I feel like it's just the stigma around it that gets me what feeling different and just yeah, it's the stigma that affects me more because a lot of people just treat you differently, think you can't do anything for yourself.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of negative media and attention towards people with
Mhm.
autism.
But also, I feel like there are some good things about autism. Like for me personally, I love music. It is my
Yeah.
my big interest is music, and I mean recently, corn. Um, I just love music and the history behind it and all this countless stories, and I like sharing my music.
Yeah. Ever since I met you, my range of interest has expanded.
That's good.
So how would, say, sensory processing, like how does that affect you?
For me, overall sensory processing, for any of you out there in the audience that don't understand what that word means, it's alright, I'm here to explain. So, sensory processing is like when a certain feel, taste, smell, texture just doesn't sit right with you. You don't like it at all. I know some people where they don't like mint. I know some people, for me personally, I really don't like the texture of sauces. It's weird. It's like pasty and I don't like it. And I'm not a huge fan of certain smells and I don't like velvet. But in taste and feels too, it's just overall it's a wide thing. I feel like it doesn't affect me. It doesn't inhibit me from doing anything. Because there are not a lot of velvet covered rooms. But yeah, it's just something that's there. What else you got?
Uh, how about myths? What are some myths you've encountered?
Some myths with autism are a lot of people have thought, oh, can't do, you can't meet people, you can't talk to people normally, you can't function, and a lot of people also think that people with autism are either going to be really dumb or really smart. Often, if it is one of those two, it's the latter, really smart. Um, for me personally, it's still TBD. Um, but oftentimes it doesn't really affect your intelligence. It just affects your ability to kind of hone that intelligence in on a certain aspect and other things. And I don't know what it is for everybody because I'm not everybody. I'm just me. And yeah, there's some myths about stimming versus ticking. Stimming is something you can control that is a repeated action of repeated like movement just to help you calm down. Sometimes I crack my knuckles a lot, various different things. And then ticking is something that, and also stimming is controlled, ticking is you don't control it. That's the main difference. So, yeah, that's all I have to say on that topic.
How about your schooling? Like, what subjects in particular are affected, and I guess
think,
how?
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to say what's affected because I've never lived without autism. I definitely don't put like max focus into every single subject. It's definitely split up between the ones that I think are more enjoyable, which may seem a little like selfish, but it's just what I find to be um, more productive in the end. And there are sometimes I need a little bit of extra help communicating because I don't understand what they're trying to say. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty normal. Of course, there are going to be some cases that are very different than mine. In fact, everyone's different. It's a spectrum. That's why it's ASD, not just AD. And have you noticed anything?
I have seen you, like, go off on some things. Like, I'd imagine you would drift a little bit in math, but I mean, we don't have math together really.
Yeah, I do fine in math. I get it done.
Yeah. Experience, you've been doing fine.
Yeah. Art, I love.
Yeah.
In fact,
Can't go wrong with that.
for you super fans, later in the show, you're gonna get to see some crazy stuff I did.
So, what do you see autism as?
That is a great question. I think medically it is a disorder, but I don't like to say disorder because that would entail that it's inhibiting you from functioning normally. I feel like there are definitely cases where it does inhibit you, but not exactly make you less capable. It is just another character trait almost, but
Like, it could slow you down, but it won't stop you.
yes, definitely.
That's the main thing.
And I think that's about wrapping up our time segment. But it was great having you on the show, Jack.
Yeah. Thanks
and
for
on to
having
our
me.
next segment. It's me, guys. I'm back.
All right. Thank you, Tucker and Jack, for shedding light on common questions about autism from a student's perspective. Your insights were amazing in fostering understanding about a complex condition.
Now, transitioning into a different aspect, we are going to present a collection of student art that we take great pride in showcasing. This art not only reflects the diverse talents with our students community, but also a very powerful medium for self-expression.
This showcase is a testament to the creativity and individuality thriving within our student body, fostering an environment where everyone's voice is heard and celebrated. So enjoy. Hi. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Would you just like to introduce yourself really quick?
Sure. My name is Mr. Will. I am currently a high school, middle school art teacher, and I have a master's in special education and have been working in the autism community for around 7 years now.
And how does autism impact the way that you teach?
That's a really good question. So, autism definitely impacts the way I teach, especially the way I lesson plan. So rather than thinking of doing a lesson where kids learn a specific way, allowing for more flexibility and different modes of learning is really important. So whether that be using kinesthetics like clay for a lesson rather than paint, having that on my mind is a big part of how I teach. So different students learn really differently on the spectrum. So certain students are more auditory, some are more visual, some like to move around a lot. So allowing for students to explore based on their preferred way of learning is definitely beneficial for them.
And speaking on learning, can you tell me about the importance of an art education?
That's a great question. So in art education, meaning taking art classes and being exposed to classical art, is very important. I think it's the key term here is individualism. So being able to express yourself as an individual is one of the main reasons why art is so important. It helps young students explore who they are and what they're passionate about, what they're interested in. And so it can be a very powerful tool for someone on the spectrum to explore and what their interests are, what they're passionate about, all kinds of stuff. So art can play a very, very large key role in helping young students define themselves, and it can be especially powerful for those on the spectrum.
That's a great answer. And with your long career in teaching, how would you define autism?
That's a really interesting question. How would I define autism? I think autism is a very complex thing. There are certain students who are very mildly affected, and there are certain students who are nonverbal and who are severely impacted by an autism diagnosis. So it's difficult to define, and there's a lot of different groups who prefer to define it in different ways. So how I personally would define it is a neurological difference that makes an individual still be able to accomplish tasks, the same tasks you or I could accomplish, just through different means. So taking different routes to get there. So I think anyone with autism is capable of achieving great things. I think that's really important to keep in your mind, especially with any kind of negative stigma around the disability, that those individuals are very capable. For example, when I first moved up here, I was working for a young man with autism who graduated high school, and he was speaking on a letterboard. So somebody had to be there to scribe for him. And that was my job when I moved here. And I scribed for him, and he applied for a scholarship to George Mason University. And he is going currently to George Mason, completely nonverbal and using the letterboard to complete his courses and assignments. So the capability doesn't always match what you see on the outside. So I think it's really important not to judge what you see and to assume competency, especially with individuals with autism, because they are very smart and very capable.
I want to thank you so much for your time. Those were amazing answers.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, my name is Tommy Zrieta, and these are some of the sketches I've done. I like to draw animals because I'm very fascinated by anatomy and the way things are constructed and how they work. One of the earliest ones I did was this deer on a rock. I based this off of a portrait out of a just a book I found, and then the same is for this line. This was actually the first I did out of all of them, and it's still one of my favorites. And then the rest were just from photos and pictures online. This one is of this kangaroo that I drew. It was very fun. I like the way he came out. He's a little chubby, but it's okay. I really like the way he came out. This is a goat. This was probably the hardest one I did of them all. Just kind of like the way his horns were and how I'm trying to get this one to like bend the other way, and the way his head was shaped combined with the direction of the horns is kind of hard to really get out. But I like the way it came out, and I like the way his like facial features, and if you look really closely, the way his like fur is all kind of shown a little bit. It's probably hard to see on camera. But one of my favorites is this other deer. I used a lot of line weight with the thicker lines for this one, and gave him a little rock to stand on. And I like the poses. Both deer kind of have that same turned pose, because I don't really like drawing the animals in kind of very like normal kind of default stance, like giving them kind of natural, like doing something, how they're looking around. And so yeah, these are some of my favorite pieces I've done.
Alright, so for my art showcase, I picked these three. This first one is B.B. King's guitar he named Lucille. I picked it because I think B.B. King is a great bluesman, a great guitarist especially, and Lucille's a pretty famous guitar, and I wanted to draw a guitar, so yeah, here's that. Next up, I picked this clay man who's crawling, and he doesn't have hands because he's a zombie. And yeah, he's pretty cool if you want to get some zoom ins. And the reason I made this guy is because I love sculpting, and I had never done like a large scale project like this, and this was really fun to make. And then my final piece I chose is the ceiling tile that I'm working on painting for the album cover for Issues by Korn. As you can see, I've done some of the background, and I've gotten everything drawn out, and I'm excited to see how this turns out because I really like Korn. that is more any.
As we come to the closing of this incredible telethon,
Sorry, some technical difficulties.
Is it gone?
no, it's you gotta click it.
Apologies, Spruce Heads. We're having some technical difficulties.
Never buy a teleprompter of Team Rewards.
I clicked.
Never.
Never buy the Team Rewards.
We apologize for this mishap. We hope it will not happen again. It shouldn't, because we're almost done, but
Are we at the right part?
we're just before, so like literally the paragraph before the right part. Yes, there. It's moving.
Okay. As we come to the closing of this incredible telethon dedicated to raising autism awareness, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you watching at home.
Together, we've embarked on a journey that has touched hearts, challenged perceptions, and ignited a flame of understanding. Our journey began with the insights of Dr. Stephen Quinn, and his expertise had been a guiding light, illuminating the path toward a more inclusive world. Dr. Quinn, you've not only educated us, but also inspired us to advocate for change. We are grateful for your efforts in making the world a more inclusive place for people with autism.
And to the remarkable Tommy Israeta. Tommy, I speak on behalf of everyone here in thanking you for sharing your personal experiences with autism and the journey of getting tested. It has truly been inspiring, and I think we can all agree that Tommy deserves a round of applause for being such an incredible advocate and storyteller.
All right. And then in my segment with Jack Greco, we had a great conversation about sensory issues, autism in my perspective, and just my whole experience. And I thought it was a great conversation. I remember when we were rehearsing, I really opened my eyes to my autism because I didn't realize he also noticed it. And I hope I opened his eyes and everyone else there at home.
And again, sharing those stories is why we're here
Yes.
today, and I thank you for doing that.
Because we're raising awareness.
Tucker testing the knowledge of the average person about autism revealed eye-opening results. It emphasized the need for continued education and conversations to dispel myths and misconceptions. Let's make it our mission to spread awareness and create a world where knowledge is the bridge to acceptance.
And on top of all of that, we are thrilled to showcase the incredible artistic talents of some young artists with autism. An art showcase featuring some of the amazing works by students that have left us in awe. I love the ceiling tile. Their creativity inspires me, and through their artwork, they beautifully express their perspectives and stories. In closing, let this telethon be more than just an event. It's a catalyst for change, to continue conversations, challenge stereotypes, and carry the torch of awareness into your communities. Together, we can build a world that not only understands, but accepts and celebrates the unique contributions of every individual, regardless of neurodiversity.
And once again, we would like to thank the Autism Society of Northern Virginia, not only for their partnership, but for their support and outreach, serving the autistic community of Northern Virginia since 1969. Please consider donating to their cause of creating a more equitable and accepting world through their plethora of programs, which you can read all about on their website, which is linked below.
That's a long time, that's 55 years.
They do a lot of good things.
For 55 years. You'd be supporting an amazing organization that works and uplifts thousands of people through their outreach, support, and education. Their Autism 101 page, in particular, is an amazing resource for understanding a complex condition. Click the donation link below and support the Autism Society of Northern Virginia today to support the push for a more accepting world.
Now, we've had a lot of serious discussion today. To provide some levity, we've been allowed one joke, and here to present it is once again Tommy Israeta.
Hello, everyone. All right. So why did the neurotypical student bring a ladder to the autism awareness event? Because they wanted to understand things from a different perspective.
laughter has a unique way of bringing people together, don't you think, Ari?
I do think that. And we hope this little joke added a sprinkle of joy to your day. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of this incredible journey, dear viewer. Your support is a testament to the power of collective action, and as we bid farewell, let's carry the spirit of this telethon forward, lighting up the lives of those touched by autism.
Here's to a more inclusive, understanding, and compassionate future.
And thank you once again to our partners, the Autism Society of Northern Virginia, who you can find out more about in the links below. Good night and thank you!